I'd like to talk today about the issue of working with police. Oftentimes people see videos that I have or pictures when we travel in other cities, and they see a police around us. And they say, "We've preached in that same city, Brother Reuben. We don't need the police protection like you do." Well, there might be a reason for that. Maybe when you go in that city, you don't rebuke the sin like we do. Maybe you have more in common with the sinner than you do rebuking sin. But when you go inside of a city and cause no small stir, you will get police reaction. And so Bible college rarely will teach, if ever, what to do and how to work with police. Anytime we find out a minister is arrested, it's usually because he molested somebody, stole money from church, or did something worthy of arrest. However, when street preachers get arrested, we usually get told that, well, you deserved it. Well, you provoked them. Do understand, our Bible, our holy book, is filled with men and women of God who were persecuted. A lot of men of God in the Bible were jailed, went to court. Jesus, before the court, never said a word. The Apostle Paul, before the court, constantly talked about his citizenship. And so that's something you need to consider when you do go to court. Granted, if you're even worthy to go to court, if you're even making that big of a stir in cities. And so I like to say and give a little rundown what to do when you meet a police officer in the street. Make it very clear. Usually when a police walks up, the first thing he asks, who's in charge? I know young Christians that say Jesus is in charge. Well, that really starts the entire conversation rocky. I know officers, what they would like to do is find out who they're addressing. So they'll ask you, "Can I see some ID, please?" And, it's very common within the, Christian world that, hey, you don't need to show ID. I say show the police officer the ID so he can put that aside and know who he's addressing with. It's not a conspiracy. It's not the government's after you. It's just he wants to know who he's talking to. Body language means a lot. That officer went to the academy and they're taught body language. I usually have my sunglasses off, usually have my sunglasses raised, so they can look me in the eye, so they can see if I'm lying or not, if I'm skipping words, nervous, twitching. These are things that police are looking for. If you're confident, if you're looking them in the eye, they have nothing to worry about. You're giving them the ID. You have no warrants. You shouldn't be out there if you did. And so my point is, just speed up the process. It's been very common when a guy gets arrested, how he starts yelling at the police, "I'm going to sue you. I pay your badge," or whatever it is that you say when you scream at a police officer. We're not protesters. Do understand that. We're not protesters. As a matter of fact, it's an honor to be arrested for the gospel. The Bible makes it very clear. You don't start screaming at a police officer. You don't fall to the ground so he has to drag you away. That's a protester. Okay? That's not a street preacher. How a street preacher gets arrested is when he's told to put his hands behind his back and he submits. Before I do, I'll stick my Bible in my mouth and walk away. That's my crime for using this book. We have attorneys, we have courts, and we'll fight it in that court system. But do understand, you're going to be falsely charged. You're going to be slandered. Your name's going to be destroyed. Do understand that's the concept of getting arrested. Nevertheless, you are not going to a prison. If anything, you'll be taken to the precinct or the city jail, maybe released on bond, and you come back for a court date. It's not the end of the world. When I go into a city, will meet with the chief of police. We'll meet with lieutenants. We'll meet with big shots of cities that I don't even live in. That's the kind of steel. That's what happens when I go into a city, because I know there'll be issues. Police will be called, and accusations will be made on what we do. And so I let them know in advance that we're coming in, expect this to happen. You can't go out and reprove sin without the police being called. That's the nature of the beast. When the officer arrests you, don't start screaming or hollering. It's normal. The Bible says this is going to happen. Many scholars can write books about the Bible, but don't know what it's like to sit in a jail cell. Many of you think you know God, and you're the modern day Apostle Paul, or you're the modern day John the Baptist. I've never claimed to be any of those. But you've never spent a day inside of a cell for the faith. You have no idea what that's like. Because not only does most likely the media, if it was an event, will write something bad about you, but people on Facebook or YouTube will slander your name. Do understand that's not what it's about. To be sitting in the cell for your faith, most of you will never taste what that's like. I've been arrested more times than I can ever remember. And who cares? I've got attorneys to go ahead and fight that when the time comes. Out of all the times I've been arrested, never been charged, usually the cases get dropped out before it even goes before a court and all of that system. Because it's not really an issue. They know they lied. They know things are wrong. I don't sue cities for money. Do understand that. I get accused of that. If we go to court, I don't get the nickel. I don't get money out of that thing. My attorney, however, he's going to get paid, and paid so properly. The only thing I'm concerned about is that sidewalk that we have soldiers who fought and died and bled for. That's our American right to do so. We're not Canada. We're not Mexico. We're not France. We're not Europe. This is America. And that sidewalk was paid for a price, and I tend to use that sidewalk. I tend to go to jail if I need to on that sidewalk. And so do understand, you're going to be hated for the gospel's sake. But when you get arrested, do what the officer says. I've been told by officers, I can write books on what they've done to me. I should be a rebel against police, but I do work with them. They've slammed my head against the hot hood of a car door, or the hood, the top of the car, squad car. It's burning. My cheeks are burning. They put me in the back seat, told me to watch my head, hit my head on the door. They put cuffs on me so tight, it almost slit my wrists. But nevertheless, that's part of the program. I'm not screaming and crying. It'll all be worked out. As a matter of fact, I actually thank God I was able to taste of the Bible. And so I urge that for you too. When you go out, expect police to be called if you're going to make that big of an issue on the streets as you claim to. Do understand that's the concept. We got men and women of God who have been persecuted and jailed for their faith. And you're just experiencing that. Even in America, the free speech that we have can be limited. And so there is no law against outdoor preaching. But you can be arrested for loitering. You can be arrested for public nuisance. You can be arrested for riotous words, provoking people, trespassing. I've been arrested for all those. I've been arrested for disturbing the peace twice during Mardi Gras, on Fat Tuesday. Figure that out. There's cities that after we go into, they make laws against what we do. And we fight those laws. We go to court and we overturn those laws. And so we're very happy to live in this country, to have freedoms that we do. And all I'm just simply saying is don't abuse those freedoms. Thank God we live in this country, and that officer is not the evil centurion, even if he arrests you. Be polite to the guy. Thank him. Even in the back seat, I've been arrested, talking to the officer in charge, and hey, he's just doing what he's told. That's all. He's just doing what he's told. When we get out there, don't start popping an attitude with the cop. Don't start arguing with the police officer. Do understand, he's going to probably arrest you before stopping an event down or hauling away some sinner. You don't run to the police officer, he just hit me. He just threw beer on me. He just spit on me. You need to do your job. I pretty much just take it. I pretty much just shred it and walk away. They're not there to arrest them. Chances are it's going to be slim that a heathen is going to get arrested for doing something to you. You better know that going in. So don't start whining to the police officer. It's been foretold we're going to be hated. We're going to be beaten. We're going to be spit. You know, whatever it is, persecution you think is told, you might experience. And so if something happens, don't run like a little girl to the police demanding they get arrested. Because chances are that officer's not going to do anything. There are times when you should press charges, and then there are times where I just pretty much tell the officer, put a little fear of God in him and let him go. It depends on the scenario. There are times I will actually say I will pursue a charge. At one time in Ohio, I had a police officer that I was talking to witness a homosexual spit on me. The officer said, whether you want to press charges or not, I am. I'm going to arrest him. I saw a crime in progress, and it's a felony in Ohio to spit on somebody. And so, you know, it's not up to me all the time. Sometimes it's good to have somebody jailed. I don't have a problem with that. If God tells you to have a sinner arrested, I don't have a problem with that. I understand it. Usually your critic may not, but he's never been in the same position that you and I have. You know, it's good to love your neighbor. And with this guy in jail, you're loving your neighbor, because the next street preacher that comes in, he's not going to get away with such. But do understand, there's a difference between law and grace. And we are ministers of grace. They are there to uphold man's law. So if you get arrested, do understand it's just the officer's job. He's not the evil centurion taking you to the cross. Just give him the ID, answer his questions, don't flinch, and do understand you have the right to be on that sidewalk. You have what's called a heckler's veto. Even if you say offensive words, the heckler's veto will cover you. If he's not familiar, he can Google it and find out what to do. Usually when I'm dealing with police for the first time, they're on their cell phone, not their radio. Because a radio can be summons, and every conversation that's on that radio can be given and used in court. A phone call from their personal cell phone, well, you know, there's not much we can do. We can't record that because it's not recorded. So the point is, they can say a lot more on that cell phone than they can on the radio. And if they're trying to find a reason to get rid of you and they can't, they're going to make something up. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, most men of God in the Bible were arrested on false charges, and it's not going to be anything new. Just because you got a citation, just because you spent one day in jail, doesn't mean your name is in Fox's Book of Martyrs. It's expected. We have many verses where soldiers were brought into the city where the Apostle Paul preached. That's how much of a stir that man made. And so do understand, quite frankly, I believe most police officers like what we say. They just can't say it because of the badge that's on us and on them. And so I do appreciate what they do. Out of all the arrests that I've done, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I still work with them and politely call them sir and thank you. So I hope this helps. And I hope these pictures speak volumes to what I say, because it's evidence that we do work with police. God bless you, and maybe I'll be a cellmate for Jesus.